Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform that you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive hard rock and heavy metal interviews, live show coverage, album reviews, and more. My guest for episode 211 is frontman MATT SCANNELL of Vertical Horizon. Vertical Horizon is celebrating the 25th anniversary of their hit album, Everything You Want, with a limited edition vinyl, as well as an anniversary tour. And here's MATT SCANNELL to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about Vertical Horizon, how would you describe the band's music to me?
I'd probably say just don't bother. Go listen to somebody else. Just, come on. At this point, 33 years in. No, we're a rock band. We try to write good songs. I don't know. I don't know how to describe myself. Our band.
I think you're a little bit singer-songwriter, a little bit pop, maybe even a little Peter Gabriel-esque.
Well, I mean, the Peter Gabriel-esque thing, sure. I've anything I can do to sound more like Peter Gabriel, I will do. I mean, I think I went bald first. So I do have to say that. I think Peter, with respect, was a little late to that train. I'm not being critical, but everything else, basically, it's gone the other way. He's led and I have followed.
So today we're talking about the 25th anniversary of your fourth album, Everything You Want. It was recently released on vinyl by Sony Legacy Recordings on August 2nd. This is the first time it appears on vinyl, correct?
No, it's actually, I want to say it's the second and possibly third time over the years that it's been released on vinyl. But it's at least the second, and I believe it's the third.
As far as the 25th anniversary release of it, did someone at the label approach you, or was it just a discussion you had with the label?
I approached them in a bit of a panic, like, "Hey, by the way, I just realized that Everything You Want turns 25 in like 2 weeks. Could you guys maybe do something?" And they were like, "Well, what about vinyl?" And I jumped up and down and gave them all virtual high fives over Zoom meetings, and then they did it. They made it happen. It was really, really cool. And we did. When I say we, in regards to anything like this, it's really they, and then I cheered on from the sidelines. They did a translucent orange vinyl thing for it, so it looks super cool. Like it's just a really fun thing. I mean, vinyl, you've got that tactile experience, which of course, when the record came out originally back in '99, it was not released on vinyl back then. It was just CD and cassette. And so it's fun to have it in the format that I grew up enjoying. It's a weird mind meld of nostalgia for me on multiple levels to have it in vinyl. It's cool.
And it's selling out. It's sold out on your web store and at Amazon. Yeah. You're going to go to the secondary market. I think there's still some over at Barnes & Noble. So that must be a little.
Yeah, it's nice. And I know they actually wound up ordering twice. RCA wound up ordering twice as much as their original number was. And so I feel good about that. I mean, we sell them at our live shows, and we have a sort of stash of them that we will bring out to our concerts. So if anybody would like to see us and get Vertical Horizon vinyl, it's a 2-for-1 scenario, and you don't need to search the internet endlessly to try to get your own copy.
So before we get to the tour, why don't we just hit the time machine a little bit on the release of Everything You Want back in 1999. The band released 3 albums prior to this. This was your major label debut with RCA. How did you end up getting signed to the label?
I think it was sort of a perfect storm, really. We had been, just slogging it out on the road for 6 or 7 years. or probably, I guess, 5 or 6 years at that point. Just really trying to get some momentum, make some headway. And we had sold our 70,000th copy of the Live Stages record, which was a record that we made. So our first record is called There and Back Again. Our second record is called Running on Ice. The third record is called Live Stages. Live Stages was really born out of a frustration that we weren't being approached or taken seriously by the major labels. And back in that day, that was really the only way to do it. You had to get signed to a major label if you wanted to have a shot at bringing your band to the next level. So we did the live record, and it wound up sound scanning, selling. There was a database, and I'm not sure if it still exists, called SoundScan, where everyone could kind of look and see what kind of business everybody else was doing. So once we sold 70,000 copies of that Live Stages record, the whole world started knocking on our door like, hey, how come you guys are able to do this without us? So there was that. There was all the shows that we had played and all the markets that we were developing. And then finally, I had really drilled down on my songwriting, and I had taken it seriously and looked myself kind of straight in the mirror and said, dude, you got to get better. You got to get better. And so I was working really, really hard. And I have to say I'm proud of myself for the work that I did at that time. It made a huge difference, and still to this day is making a difference, because I wrote songs like Everything You Want and You're a God and Best I Ever Had during that time period. And so I think all those things kind of came together, and that was the reason for us getting to that next step on the ladder.
Why don't we talk about some of the songs that you released from the album back in 99 and 2000. Why don't we start with We Are? I think it's a great opening track. Maybe it didn't get the ears it should have when it was originally released. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the song?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a rock song. RCA had sort of said, hey, look, we know we want to give you guys at least a shot at another single after a second single, but let's let the first single be something that's a little bit heavier, a little bit more of an announcement of intent or something. I don't know, that probably sounds a little too, I don't know, frou-frou, but they didn't want us just to come out with just a little pop song, you're just the best I ever had kind of thing, right? And back in the day, it was sort of like whatever you put out there is kind of what you're known for. Extreme sort of famously, it was like More Than Words was an acoustic duo song, and an incredible one at that. But people who heard of the band, that's what they expected from them, was like, how come you're not playing More Than Words? And then they've got all these amazing rock songs that are in their catalog. And so for whatever reason, that was a big deal to RCA. Let's go with a heavy song. Okay. And so we did. And I think it started to make things happen. My perspective on it was, I grew up in Massachusetts in a town called Worcester in the middle of the state. And there was a radio station called WBCN. And WBCN was kind of like the cool kids radio station. There was WBCN and WAAF. Those were sort of like the cool, and HJY down in Providence. Those were like, I was like the trifecta. And I heard We Are on BCN in Boston. So as far as I'm concerned, that song did everything it could possibly have ever done, and then some, because I heard BCN play it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was the first effort off the record.
I'm actually talking to you here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it's
great.
It's Worcester.
Worcester, the best. Coney Island dogs. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it there. I love it there. My mom and dad retired to the Cape, so they sold their house in Worcester, and but just some of my absolute best memories in life are in that town. So that's cool. You live in Plymouth. Nice.
Yeah. Used to live down the Cape. Did
you? Sweet. There you go. We're like family.
Almost. Well, Well, let's talk about the huge single. Let's talk about Everything You Want. Absolutely blows up on radio. Number one on the Billboard Hot 100 for 41 weeks. From what I understand, this song is about what the kids would call today you being friend zoned. Correct?
Yeah, yeah. That's the 100% friend zone. That was painful, just brutal, just totally brutal. Yeah, I was in love. I mean, I was like desperately in love with this amazing girl who was like, she was just like, you didn't even see me that way. You know, it was like, it just was, I didn't even register on the screen, but I was her friend, and she would cry on my shoulder and it was like, oh God. And, worked out okay. I wrote the song and, thank you. Basically I'd love to thank her publicly, for the unrequited love. It was a great a great motivator for me to write a song about her. She still doesn't know it was about her, by the way, which is kind of nice. I like that. So I feel in some level like I had the last laugh. But that song, I love that song. It's interesting. Sometimes I don't know what's going on with me, but sometimes I think artists they resent their big single. They resent whatever, something about the songs or song that got them famous. And I don't think I'm famous, but other people. I'm talking about other people. They're the songs that really registered for them, so I'm just thankful that I love this song. Like every single time we start playing it, I'm like, oh great, cool, we get to play this song, and oh sweet, people are clapping for it. Like, there's no like, nah, I want to play the other stuff, man. I'm so thankful for that because it changes the cadence. I mean, it changed my whole life. I'm about to go. We'll talk about shows and tours and stuff. But we go back out on the road, and it's like, people sing along. And when I was a kid, I went to see Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, and he played Piano Man, and we all started singing Piano Man so loud that he was like, "All right, I don't need to do this. You guys go ahead." And we sang it so loud that the whole building basically shook. And I've had my version of that story, and what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing.
And I understand what you're saying about some artists not wanting to play their biggest hit because they've just done it over and over again. But as you said, these songs mean something to people. They want to hear them when they see the artist. They connect with the message of the song.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we should all be so lucky as songwriters to have songs that actually do that, as opposed to, God, this one sucks. Why are they playing this?
Another pretty big song associated with you guys is You're a God. It appeared in Bruce Almighty in 2003. I guess it's sort of a pop culture. It's ingrained in our pop culture now because
Yeah.
we either think of the movie or we think the song together. Tell me a little bit about that song. I believe it's about someone having power over you and then how it ended up on the soundtrack.
Yeah, I wrote it. A lot of people thought for a long time or continue to think that it's a religious thing. It's not. It's just about being in a relationship with somebody in your life who you've given them, the power to make decisions for you, basically, and they are the ones who are sort of calling the shots for you, and that's just. We don't need to do that. We can we can take that power away, and it's just that easy to basically say, okay, that chapter's done. I'm done with you. I'm moving on. We're out. And that's what that song is about. And when we got the call about the film, it was kind of funny that I think it was just because the word God was in the song. It is it's probably why I registered with them in the first place. And then it clearly really worked in the film because the placement is it's like a 2 or 3 minute placement. I mean, it's significant. You can't watch that movie and miss it. And that was great. I went to see it in the theater, and I remember If I, it may not have been, but I think that the trailer for another film had one of my another song of mine in it. So if I recall correctly, I went to the movies and I saw a trailer that had one of my songs, and then saw Bruce Almighty that had "You're a God" in it, and that was like, man, I'm just living the dream right now. Doesn't get better than this, you know. And I'm a Jim Carrey fan. I think he's a complete genius, and so it was a total honor and privilege to have written a song that sort of ticked enough boxes for them to decide to use it. And then I was ecstatic that it was a significant placement. You know, sometimes you get these things come your way and they're like little 5-second snippets, or it's a ringtone on someone's phone and then it's gone. And in the film, you know, it really is a nice moment. So that was really cool. And I certainly would have done it regardless. Like if they had said, "Hey, do you want your song to be in the new Jim Carrey movie?" They can't finish the sentence before I'm saying yes. But it was great. It was great that they sort of, you know, used the song the way they did.
So looking back on Everything You Want after 25 years, is there a song on the album that you kind of reacquainted yourself with that you thought, hey, you know what, this is a really good song. I wish I focused more on this in the live sets?
Well, there's a song called "Give You Back" that, you know, I've become very good friends with Richard Marx over time. And he and I have done some shows together, which have been a lot of fun. And I have so much respect for him and admiration for his work. But I also, you know, just love him like a brother. And at one point when we were doing these shows, he said, "Hey, what about that song 'Give You Back'? You know, why don't we play that tonight?" And you know, some songs when you write them, they're a little too close to the bone. You know, you're like, man, it just kind of hurts. It just kind of hurts to sing this one. So you just want to kind of give it time and you know, maybe let it heal a little bit, and then you can kind of consider it. And I had sort of thought like, well, I'm never singing that song. I'm never gonna. I'll start crying if I sing that song. I don't want to start crying during the show. But then Richard sat down at the piano and he started playing on the piano, which of course made me cry. And and we started doing it that way. And that was that sort of did a couple things. It kind of encouraged me to feel like I could sing that song without crying, and then secondly to sort of, like you said, reacquaint myself with it. And so we've been playing it lately with some regularity, and in fact, you know, the headlining shows that we're doing now. We're playing the whole Everything You Want record, so that's a lot of fun, and so of course "Give You Back" is represented there. But the other thing about that song is I always thought, you know, I kept waiting for the A&R team or the powers that be at RCA when we were making the record. I kept waiting for them to call me and say, "Hey, you know what? We think it's all going pretty well, but there's one song, it's pretty quiet and it's pretty slow. It's like, we really think we should let that 'Give You Back' song go, and let's bring something in a little more peppy," you know. I was waiting for that phone call and it never came, you know. So I always felt like that was the sort of, that song was kind of the litmus test for me with the record. Like, is there going to be kind of interference, or is it just going to be you know, a label that's saying, "Hey, make the record that you want to make"? And that's what it wound up being, you know, the latter. So that was pretty cool.
You're currently on a break from touring. You recently finished up a leg of the 25th anniversary tour with the Gin Blossoms and Toad the Wet Sprocket. How did that go?
It was great. Those guys, I mean, we've toured a lot with Gins over the years, so we know those guys. We had and have great respect for Toad the Wet Sprocket, but we had never toured with them. So it was a new experience. Amazing guys, terrific guys, wonderful songs, amazing band. So both Gins and Toad, every night, you know, you're like, these guys are going to kill it, which is great because it kind of really encourages us to you know, bring our best game. And I love that energy, you know. But all the bands were supportive of each other, and it was a super positive environment to work in. And it's not always the case. You go out on the road, and there are bands that have, you know, chips on their shoulders or this or that, whatever. You know, it's all terribly boring. But you almost can't believe that it's happening, but it does. Where people kind of make life on the road hard for the little guy or this guy or that guy. This tour was not like that at all, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
There was a stop along the way in California where you jumped on Creed's Summer of '99 shows. It was like every other band from 1999 that you weren't already playing with. How did that?
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, someone said backstage, Brian from Daughtry's band was saying, "I've never played a show where I knew more people backstage," which I think is really, really funny. It was great. You know, it was a great day. A lot of friends were there, a lot of amazing bands, some incredible songs, and a ton of people came to the show. So it wound up being, you know, a lot of fun. We played pretty early in the day, which was a little bit like, but at the same time, when you look at the lineup of bands, it's like, someone's got to go early and Creed's got to go last, and they did a great job. Everybody was cool, and we had done the tour, the cruise rather. We had done both of the Creed cruises this year, and those were super fun. So we were grateful. I think this offer was just a little bit of a thank you from them for having done the cruises. So we appreciated all of it. We had a great time.
You start back up headlining shows on September 20th in Arizona. The tour runs through November 14th. You mentioned that you're going to play the album in its entirety. Once you finish up in November, where are your tour plans after that? Overseas, more U.S. dates?
Yeah, so actually we just got a date today, November 17th in Los Angeles at the Troubadour. So the dates are kind of continually in flux, and I would encourage people to take a look at verticalhorizon.com, the tour dates there. Also, we try to keep everybody up to date at our Instagram and Facebook pages, which are official Vertical Horizon, and then we're at Vertical Horizon on X. So we don't use that platform quite as much, but we try to get the word out there. So yeah, you know, please come, and after I know we're doing some stuff that we can't really talk about, military shows, which are always like the most meaningful things that we do, frankly. Like we get to support the people who take care of us, and so I know we're doing some fun things before the end of the year with them. And but yeah, we're basically just playing. We're going to be out there, so like check us out. We'd love to see you.
As a solo artist, you've announced that you're playing a couple of military bases in North Dakota for the Gary Sinise Foundation. You're going to be at the Cavalier Space Force Station, Grand Forks Air Base, and Minot Air Force Base. So that kind of forces your support of the men and women of our U.S. military.
Yeah, the Gary Sinise Foundation I think it's an amazing organization. I think they are doing really, really good work. So it's a privilege for me that they sort of ask me now and again to go do things with them. And I'm psyched. Sometimes we go very far away places, lots of airplanes, distances. You know, it's nice that this group of shows is a little bit closer to home. So that'll be a lot of fun. And you know, the other organizations, you know, I mean, I don't Armed Forces Entertainment, Navy Entertainment, you know, these, and there are others too. And I never want to I want to thank everybody who gives us these opportunities, because like I said, you know, they are the most meaningful shows we play. I didn't serve, but some of my best friends did, growing up. And it was always like this, feeling like I could have done more. I should have done it. I didn't do it. And so these amazing people give me the chance and us the chance to kind of right that wrong a little bit. And I'm so grateful for that.
The last Vertical Horizon studio album was 2018's The Lost Mile. Are you working on new material?
Yeah, there are 2 records that we're working on now that are taking longer than I would have liked for them to have taken, but I guess I have to accept the fact that my process is a little bit slower than some of my friends, and that's okay. You know, it's nice to still have songs in me. But yeah, we'll at some point over the next period of time, be coming out with 2 records. And I've given up on saying when I think that will be, because invariably I disappoint people because it takes longer than I'd like it to. But yeah, two very different records coming out.
So rather than saying when, how about I ask, are they going to be released simultaneously?
No, they'll come out at different times, and they're meant to be experienced separately, because they're very, very different, sort of stylistically. So, and that's probably I as soon as I start talking more about it, then I get myself in trouble, because then it's like, oh, what about this and what about this, and then I say something that then I sort of go, okay, well, I wish I hadn't said that. But then look, here's the beautiful thing. Like, we have people who support our music, people who listen to our songs, people at this stage of the journey who still want to hear new music from us. And the cliche, of course, is, hey man, just play everything you want. You're a god, best I ever had. What we are, and I'm still here and forever, or whatever, a couple of other songs, and then I'm out of here, or whatever. But what we actually have is a really beautiful group of fans and friends who want to hear, they do. I bless them, because I see them singing everything you want. And I know they've been to 35, 40, 45 shows, right? And so I love that they're still with us on that song. That's incredible. But then it's also like, hey, play, Back to You off of Burning the Days, or Love Struck from Echoes from the Underground. Deep songs that are meaningful to me and meaningful to us. So we've got an amazing fan base who support us and help us continue this beautiful little machine moving forward. And I always want to say thank you to them.
Well, Matt, those are all the questions I have for you today. The 25th anniversary edition of Everything You Want is out now through Sony Legacy Recordings. I got to reacquaint myself with it after a bit of a break, and I'll tell you, every song could be a single, and I got new appreciation for the band after really digging into this album again, and I look forward to your future work and wish you the best out on tour, man.
Terrific. George, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and speak with your audience as well. Thank you very much.
Once again, I want to thank MATT SCANNELL of Vertical Horizon for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out the 25th anniversary edition of Everything You Want, out now through Sony Legacy Recordings. Head over to your favorite music streaming app, take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, buy that limited edition vinyl, support the artist. For all things Vertical Horizon, head over to their official website, verticalhorizon.com. I also want to thank Amanda Kagan at ABC PR and Sony Legacy Recordings for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.